This is a senior rehab podcast, the podcast for rehab clinicians that want to better serve older adults.
Hi there, Senior Rehab Podcast listeners. I'm Tali Spaceman.
I'm Erinn Carey.
And welcome to part 2 of our series about frailty. So we already had one about the definition and a little bit about how it's a complicated thing because there's so many definitions and so many indexes and ways to measure frailty. Because when you don't have a definition that everybody agrees on, then people measure it differently.
Preach.
So today I'm going to talk about the prevalence of and factors associated with frailty and disability in older adults in several countries.
Frailty around the world.
Exactly. Because it's an old world after all. This research was part of the SAGE research, which I'll go into later. It's part of the World Health Organization.
Does SAGE stand for something?
Yes.
Are you going to talk about it later?
Do you want to guess in the meanwhile?
Sage. Like the spice?
It's Study on Global Aging and Adults' Health.
Cool.
So I'm going to talk about the prevalence of frailty and factors associated with frailty and disability in older adults in 6 countries.
Which countries?
It was China, Ghana, India, Mexico, Russia, and South Africa.
Cool.
Now, I'll get a little bit of why they are part of the SAGE research.
Where's the United States?
Because you're not a center of the world. Just kidding.
No, you're right. It's fine.
No, it's a few things. A, because those are all countries that are lower or middle income levels.
Do they define income? Like what the middle income levels are?
Well, the income is based on the World Bank.
Oh, so it's like criteria set by the World Bank.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, that's helpful.
And this is why they're choosing those countries, because in countries like the US and in Europe, the fact that you have that much wealth means that you're already doing that research. In countries like that...
That isn't happening.
It isn't happening because no one... And I'm not condescending over Ghana, but in a country that doesn't have that much money, they're not going to spend money on researching frailty.
Yeah, and I think that in places like that, this is a guess, I don't actually know, but I assume the life expectancy isn't as high as is in these like wealthier countries. And so it's less at the forefront of people's minds in research. They have other priorities that are probably bigger to them.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Also, all those countries together have 43% of the older adults population.
What? In the world?
Yeah. 43% of people over 50 live in those countries.
And the cutoff is 50?
Yes.
Okay, I'm really excited about this.
Yes.
Yo.
It's, by the way, mostly because of Russia and China.
Thanks, Russia and China.
Something that no American has said in the past few months. So those are the countries.
Okay, so go. Tell me more.
So, and also we know, this is why we have a podcast, and this is why part of the reasons we're in geriatric, that the world is getting older. We have more older people, and the older people that we have are getting older. So not only there's a demographic transition, it comes with epidemiological transition. So we no longer talk about that many communicable diseases. Now, one of the things that contribute to disability and frailty are non-communicable diseases.
Yeah. I had the amazing opportunity to go to the WCPT conference in South Africa this past year.
Which is so awesome. She's the coolest person.
Golly, thanks. But the NCDs, the non-communicable diseases, were a really hot topic there. When I was there, I was like, well, okay, now I have a name for all these things. Diabetes, metabolic syndrome, blah, 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 blah. So
yeah, you don't catch it from someone coughing on you on the train.
Thank goodness. I caught the diabetes.
It's a severe burden, especially on places that are not that wealthy, because you spend more money on treating those people, and those people are not in the workforce.
Right.
They were thinking that if they will see how many frail older people and how many disabled older people you have in each of those countries, you can see maybe if income, education, or other socio-demographic changeables are contributing to frailty.
Cool. I like this a lot.
Thank you. So methods. The World Health Organization, SAGE, as I said before, is longitudinal study collecting data on adults 50 years and older, and also a smaller sample size from people 18 to 49 just to compare, but it focused on the aging people.
So it took a bunch of data from everyone.
Yeah.
But they just kept it for comparison. That's clever. I like that a lot.
It's so they will have it for other studies, because the SAGE is not only about this study.
SAGE never is.
SAGE never is.
I don't... There's a joke in there somewhere.
Somewhere. You can find it by yourself and email us.
Please let us know what joke we were trying to make.
Just a little bit about SAGE. It's in a few waves. There was wave 0, wave 1, wave 2. Right now we're talking about something that was in wave 1.
Okay.
So it was 2007 till 2010. Now they're fundraising for wave 4. The sample size in SAGE Wave 1 consisted of nationally representative of household health surveys. A few households got surveys. And it's because of the level of income. So you have one low income level, which is Ghana. You have 2 lower middle, which is China and India. And 3 upper middle income, which are South Africa, Mexico, and Russia. And it's all based on the World Bank income categories. They measured frailty and disability. Frailty was measured with the Frailty Index.
Yes.
It has about 40 categories, and it's an answer between 0 and 1.
Right.
And in the end, you have the average, and there's a cutoff point of 0.2. If you're below it, you have no frailty.
Nice.
Above it, you have more frailty. And disability was measured by the World Health Organization Disability Assessment Schedule, version 2.0. You call it the HUDAS. HUDAS?
Stop it. It's seriously called the HUDAS.
It's called the HUDAS.
Who does this test?
Oh my god, Erin Carey does dad jokes. So the HUDAS score, they made a 12-item version of the HUDAS 2.0 that encompass all 6 domains of the full version, which is cognition, mobility, self-care, getting along, which I think it's hilarious.
Oh my god.
I get by. I get along.
Wait, it's not like getting along with friends. Like,
It's
do you get along?
It says getting along.
I really want to read the HUDAS.
The HUDAS? It sounds like the competition of the Wu-Tang Clan. So the HUDAS, it goes by 100%, which is fully disabled, to 0%, which is no disability. They had the cutoff point at 10 percentile, which means the top 10 percentile are the cutoff for being disabled.
Okay.
Okay, so 90% and down, you're not disabled. The less than percentile, you're 90 and up, you're disabled.
Okay. So they had looked at frailty index and HUDAS.
Yes.
Cool. All right.
You want to hear about the results?
Yes.
No,
yes, I
I'm
do.
Fine.
Nah.
One day I want to say, no, just let them read the article. Why do we do all the
Yeah, right? It's not as if this is a podcast for like convenience of getting these articles.
Or to be continued. The results are in the next episode.
You have to listen.
Final total sample of 34,123 people responded.
Wow.
That's a lot of people, all 50 and older.
Wow.
Do you want to know, like, just the percentile of in which country they responded the most?
You bet I do. I was going to ask.
Please.
I'm not going to look.
Guess.
Oh, okay. Wait. Hang on. Okay, so we have South Africa, Ghana, Russia, Mexico. What's the last one?
Ghana, India.
India. I forgot about India. And China.
Yeah.
Okay. India and China. Definitely the most.
So China.
China.
Not India, but China.
Man.
Had the highest percentage of responders. It was around 87% of the people.
What? That received this in the mail responded?
This is what happens when it's a communist country.
Oh my
do
God.
things.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Go communism. High five communism. Please don't come after us, NSA.
Or come back communism.
My grandma would be so disappointed if she heard me say this.
Mine too. Do you want to guess who responded the least?
I would guess Russia because they have worse things going on.
It was Mexico.
They
have sun. Why would you answer surveys when you can have sun and beer?
Sun and beer. That sounds great. Yeah, no, I get that.
This is the results, speaking about the responders, the results about frailty, which is funny because they're a little bit similar. Across all countries, only a few participants had 0, which is, less than...
Wait, 0 of their population that were considered frail?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay, cool.
Exactly. Nobody had 0 of the population frail.
Cool. I mean, not cool, but,
It's acceptable.
Yeah, fine.
China had the highest percentage, which is 86.9% of people without frailty.
Nice.
Which is amazing. And India had the lowest.
So what percentage of the population in India were considered frail?
44.5% were considered not frail.
So 55.5%.
Yeah, 55.5% of people 50 and above were frail.
Who responded, that's ridiculous.
That's redonkulous. The frailty index increased with age for all countries and was higher for women, although the sex gap varied from country to country.
Okay.
And in China, it was the least.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And in India, it was the most. It's kind of like...
Wow.
Yeah, there were some freaky things there. Also, when you think about it, India and China are in the same income category.
Right.
They are both middle lower.
Yeah.
So you think about it, it's not really about the income of the country.
This is I'm sorry. This article is awesome.
Thank you.
You made an excellent choice. This is like blowing my mind.
Aw.
And I'm sure it's blowing the listeners' minds too.
Not literally though, please.
Oh yeah, you're all probably driving.
The age standardized prevalence of frailty in 6 countries was 56.9 in India, 38 in South Africa, around 38 in Ghana as well, around 30 in Russia, and around 30 in Mexico, and in China it was 15.5. Do you want to know what affects frailty?
What influences its prevalence?
If education and income are affecting it.
Well, I mean, I can guess.
Guess away.
So, as you alluded to earlier, it doesn't seem like income really has a big influence on frailty, which I find surprising because I feel like in the American models, or at least the models that I've read about, income was like the higher income meant less frailty.
So they do affect, but it depends in which country.
Ooh.
Yes.
Cool.
And I'll just dive into it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so education. Except for Mexico and South Africa, the odds of frailty were lower if you had any education.
Was it the opposite?
So higher education, like beyond secondary school, like beyond high school, had greater reduction in the odds of frailty, also in South Africa, but not in Mexico.
Okay.
Okay, so Mexico is the only country where the education doesn't really matter for your frailty. I'm sorry, Mexico.
Yeah.
In Mexico, however, the income did have...
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And most of these association attenuated after including other factors in the model.
Okay, so like
it
what?
has an effect, but not as much. Like, let's say where you live, what kind of house you live in. Do you have floors? Do you have walls? Things like that.
Do you have walls?
Some people don't have walls.
I guess, I mean, yeah, okay. All right, okay. Some places don't have walls.
Or like type of walls. If your wall is made of cardboard, or is it made of stone?
In Lesotho, they're made of poop.
Well...
In South Africa.
I made my case.
Poop is very insulating.
I'll try. If you want, try it and let us know.
Please don't.
Do you want to talk about income?
Definitely.
Compared with the lowest...
Wait, can I guess?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that lower income means less frailty because, here's my thinking, because those lower paying jobs tend to be more manual labor, although to be fair, that is my assumption as an American. So I'm not sure how it works in many other places.
I'm not sure how it works when you actually need to work with your hands.
Yeah. Ooh, gross. Working with your hands.
Well, you're PT.
Yeah. I'm a peasant. My first paycheck tells me I'm a peasant. Am I right?
I don't know. You didn't finish your sentence.
Oh, I said that lower income meant less frailty because there was more physical activity associated with the work.
Okay, so it's a nice try, but not accurate.
Garbage.
This whole research is garbage.
I call shenanigans.
Income. So compared with lowest income quintiles, wealthier quintiles had lower odds of frailty in India, Mexico, and Russia. Those effect has changed a little after adjustment.
Okay.
So the higher quintiles have better chances of not being frail. In China, only the wealthiest income quintile was associated with less frailty.
Interesting.
And one other risk factor for both frailty and disability in China was living in a rural environment.
So if you lived in a rural environment, it was a risk factor of being frail.
Yes.
I don't know. Like, I would honestly guess that, isn't it in a lot of Asian countries, like the family unit is much stronger than it is in the United States, where like older people tend to stay in the home longer with their family members and are taken care of by the other family members.
Yeah, and maybe that's actually why the percent of frailty is not as high in other countries. So I think maybe it's more cultural, because remember that we said that it's a holistic disease. It's not only the individual, it's also the society they live in and the networks they have.
That's true. God, this article's so cool.
So disability, the relationship between disability scores and age for men and women is very similar to the frailty index score patterns.
Okay.
And the Huda score includes 0 values, okay? So China had the most people saying 0 to disability. So both frailty and disability are the lowest in China.
Good work, China.
And India, again, was the lowest. Compared to no education, most of the education category had a protective factor in both China and Russia for disability.
Just China and Russia? What about the other countries?
They didn't have a protective thing for disability. They did have a protective for frailty.
Right.
But not for disability.
Interesting.
Because remember, disability and frailty are not the same, even though sometimes it's a comorbidity.
Yeah.
Compared to the lowest quintile, the wealthiest income quintiles had a protective factor for both China, India, Mexico, and Russia. So it's better to have money.
In China, India, Mexico, and Russia.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
check.
For Mexico, less wealthy income quintiles also represented a protective factor, which was so weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a really interesting research. I do recommend getting into the SAGE website. I will post the link.
Cool.
I just want to conclude. So those are the population that we need to put an eye on.
Right.
The less educated people, not in all countries, and the people with less money, unless you're in Mexico.
Yeah. Good work, Mexico.
Anything else you want to say? I feel like I talked a lot.
I really like this a lot because it makes me think about what differences between these countries could potentially influence frailty in these populations. Like, I know they looked at income and education and things like that, but I just want more data.
Exactly. I want more data. I want more, for me, from this research, I can say that it's a little obvious that something in the culture is related to frailty. It's not the only thing that is going to say, is a person going to be frail or not? Or are we going to have a lot of frail people? And again, I'll take China and India, which have the same income level, but they are very different. In China, you have less frail people and less disabled people, and in India, you have more. So I don't know if it's how they treat older people in China.
Right.
Or how they treat the fact that you will grow old.
Yeah.
The fact that you take care of your body, both physically and go to checkups, and something I would like to know what the culture things that are contributing to the frailty
I
situation.
agree. And I feel like this is like an advertisement for the importance of the ICF model, like taking the culture and the environment and the personal history into account when you're looking at your patients. It's not just like touchy-feely, I just want to be cultural. No, it has an effect on someone's health. And just because we don't know specifically how doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. And I feel like this article is a great example of demonstrating how that matters. So nice article, Tali. This is so cool.
I'm so happy. So thank you very much for listening, Senior Rehab Podcast. I'm Tali Spaceman.
I'm Erinn Carey. You can find us on Facebook.com/Senior Rehab Project.
Yes, you can.
Cool.
And as always, stay funky.
Hit me. Thank you for listening to the Senior Rehab Podcast. If you enjoy this content, I highly encourage you to go to seniorrehabproject.com, where you can find more helpful episodes, lots of free resources, and to see how you can become a game changer and influence the direction of this movement. I appreciate you, and I'll talk with you soon. But in the meantime, do not forget to stay funky.